Kevin. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Enfield Town Council. Today is Wednesday, May 15th, 2013, 6:30 p.m. And may we start with roll call, please?
Councilman Arnone.
Here.
Councilman Bosco.
Here.
Councilman Crowley.
Here.
Councilman Edgar.
Here.
Councilman Hall.
Here.
Mayor Copeland.
Here.
Councilman Kinsler.
Here.
Councilman Lee.
Here.
Councilman Mangini.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Councilman Stokes.
Here.
It's 11 members present, none are absent.
I have my order right.
I'm sorry, I messed up on my, trying to get the order right, and I skipped right over. So, all right. Okay, first item on the agenda, we will do the introduction of the main motion, followed by the amendments, and then the adoption resolutions. So the main motion reads as follows. Resolved that page 25, General Fund Revenue Summary, and page 31, Summary of Expenditure of the Town Budget, as submitted by the Town Manager, and the estimates for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2013, and ending June 30th, 2014, including estimates of receipts and expenditures and recommendations of said Town of Enfield. For emergency medical services, pages 124 and 126 through 129. Water pollution control, pages 132 and 134 through 137. Social services fund, pages 143 and 148. Dog fund, pages 183 to 184. Information technology fund, pages 188 and 190 through 192. Recreation Fund, pages 196 and 199 through 206. Insurance Fund, pages 208 to 214. And Capital Improvement Funds, pages 217 to 218. Be accepted and approved by the Town Council of the Town of Enfield. Be it further resolved that any and all monies deemed by the Enfield Director of Finance saved by the Enfield Board of Education unspent and unencumbered in its fiscal year 2013 general fund allotment be appropriated to the Information Technology Fund at the date of earliest action by the Enfield Town Council in order to offset the required fiscal year 2014 Enfield Board of Education's contribution.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councilman Mangini. And we now go to the amendments. And we'll start with Councilman Bosco, and as we traditionally do, read, and the person immediately to his left would be the second, and we'll follow across the dais. Joey?
Amendment 1, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 35 in accordance with the following schedule, contract settlement. Town attorney salaries from $231,735 to $231,535.
32.
Or $232, I'm sorry.
Second.
Discussion? Amendments we do by show of hands. All those in favor by a show of hands. Those opposed, unanimous. Greg?
Okay. Amendment number 2, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 41 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlements, town clerk salaries from $281,609 to $283,948.
Second. Discussion on Amendment 2. Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 3, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-14 budget as shown on page 47 in accordance with the following schedule for contract settlement, finance department salaries from $148,310 to $149,073.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on Amendment 3? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment 4, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 49 in accordance with the following schedule, contract settlement, treasury salaries from $314,797 to $317,070.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 5, to amend the town manager's proposed 2013 to 2014 budget as shown on page 51 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, assessment and revenue collection salaries from $320,166 to $322,439.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Amendment number 6. Motion to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 57 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, public safety, police services salaries, $7,003,544 to $7,006,928.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
One abstention.
I'd like to amend number 7 to the town manager's proposed 2013-14 budget as shown on page 63 in accordance with the following schedule. Pre-employment checks, public safety, school security, from $49,500 to $16,500.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? An abstention, Red? And one abstention.
I'd like to make a motion to amend, amendment number 8, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 67 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, Public Works Administration salaries from $490,100 to $490,846.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 9, to amend the town manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 71 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, energy performance contract. Public Works, Buildings and Grounds, salaries, $1,102,712 to $1,103,367. Electricity, $1,448,000 to $1,419,635. Maintenance in building supplies, $370,216 to $365,961.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on Amendment 9? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed, any abstentions? One abstention?
Amendment number 10, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 79 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, Public Works, Highway Maintenance salaries from $567,250 to $567,996.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed, any abstentions? Unanimous?
Amendment number 11, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 83 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, Public Works, Equipment Maintenance and Repair salaries, $462,526 to $463,181.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed, any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment 12, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 87 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, Public Works refuse collection salaries from $1,019,846 to $1,020,501.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed, any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 13, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 95 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlements, Planning and Development Administration salaries from $207,175 to $207,982.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed, any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 14, to amend the manager's proposed 13-14 budget as shown on page 99 in accordance with the following schedule. For contract settlement, planning and development, planning office, salaries, $176,227 to $177,537.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 15, to amend the town manager's proposed 2013-14 budget as shown on page 109 in accordance with the following schedule. Contract settlement, Planning and Development, Community Development, salaries from $178,828 to $179,591.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 16, to amend the town manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 119 in accordance with the following schedule. I'm going to read all of it. I'm not going to read just the bold. So, transfer out in contingency, transfer to capital. So the first line item is going from $1,769,521. It remains the same to $1,769,521. On the next line, it says mowers, and in parentheses, it's 4. It's going from 0 to 60,800. There's the next line is 1 dump body. It's from 0 to 30,000. The next line is a side loading refuge truck. It's going from 0 to 295,000. Dump with plow, and it says 3 in parentheses, and that's 0 to $588,000. Front end loader 1 from 0 to $250,000. Retrofit recycling truck 1 in parentheses from 0 to $8,200, and Brainerd Road improvements, 0 to $17,000. The total transfer to capital at the bottom goes from $1,769,521 to $3,092,521.
Before I second that, this is supposed to be Brainerd Park improvements.
Oh, okay.
It was,
Brainerd Road, it says.
it says, right, but
Right.
it is Brainerd Park.
Yeah, it's
So you-
caught on where, on the last page, where you actually do the appropriation to the account, it was there, we didn't catch it there apparently.
Okay.
As a friendly amendment,
All right,
Carol?
yep.
Yeah, okay.
I motion to amend that to
Yeah.
read Brainerd Park
And I will,
improvements.
I will second the amendment. Discussion on the amendment. Sensing none, by a show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Amendment number 17, make a motion to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 119 in accordance with the following schedule. Transfers to IT, WPC in kind and education, from $1,721,494 to $1,721,494. WPC in-kind allocation from 0 to negative $18,866. Education contribution from 0 to $750,000. Total transfers to IT, $1,721,494 to $2,452,628.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'd like to make a motion to amend that $750,000 number, which is basically it's helping the Board of Education support their IT budget. I'd like to amend it to $500,000.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to amend the 750 to 500. Is there a
Second.
second? There is a second. Discussion on the amendment? Then by a show of hands, all those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion is defeated 4 to 7. Further discussion on Amendment 17. Then by a show of hands, all those in favor of Amendment 17? Those opposed? 7 in favor, 4 against.
I'd like to amend number 18 of the town manager's proposed 2013-14 budget as shown on page 119 in accordance with the following schedules. Transfer to social services, $1,890,753 to $1,890,753. And I will read it out also. Fixed route rider fees from 0 to negative $29,000. Transportation salaries, 0 to $23,168. Contract settlement, 0 to $5,835. Adult day health aide nurse salaries and benefits from 0 to $106,579. I read that one already. Child daycare relocation from 0 to negative $113,960. Total transfers to social services, $1,890,753 to $1,883,375.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any discussion on Amendment 18? Show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
I'd like to make a motion to amendment number 19 to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget is shown on page 119 in accordance with the following schedule. Transfers to recreation, $341,689 to $341,689. Contract settlement from $0 to $655. Total transfers to recreation, $341,689 to $342,344.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any discussion on Amendment 19? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 20, to amend the town manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on page 121 in accordance with the following schedule. Performance contract. Debt services lease payments from 0 to $32,620.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 21, to amend the town manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget by increasing the total town appropriation as shown on page 31 from $52,154,741 to $54,187,321. Amend to entire budget appropriation, town and
Just-
school. Oh, I'm sorry,
just
yep.
that. Yep.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Discussion? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'd like to make a motion to reduce that number by $750,000, which is the number that was added to the town manager's number. With the consolidation of the schools, the closing of Fermi High School, and other projects the Board of Education has been working on at this point, and the population of our students dropping drastically, I would ask the board to help us absorb some of these tough times right now. So I'm asking the council to reconsider that addition of $750,000 on top of the $1.2 million increase that's in the manager's budget.
Second.
Okay, a motion, an amendment by decreasing the last number by $750,000.
Yes,
It's
sir.
been moved, seconded, discussion. Councilman Hall?
You want the whole 750, or would you look at 550, like your original motion?
I would be open. Yeah.
Well, you can, since you have an amendment on the floor, you can do a friendly amendment to it, since you're the motion maker.
All right.
Or we can have discussion and a vote on what's.
I would reconsider and go to, if Councilman Hall's at the 550.
550.
I
Okay.
reconsider and go to the 550.
So I'll take that as a friendly to reduce it by $550,000, still seconded by
Still
Councilman Bosco. Any discussion on the amendment to decrease the total?
That would leave the money for all-day kindergarten intact. with-
Absolutely.
With that reduction.
Yep.
That leaves
Okay.
200,000 on
Right.
Just, you took out 550, you didn't leave 550.
Correct. The reduction, the proposed reduction is to reduce the 54,187,321 by $550,000.
Right. That still leaves them $1.4 million
Okay.
to fund all-day kindergarten, is the increase to the Board of Education. $1.4 million.
Okay. So that's it, Councilman Kensler?
Just for clarification, we're talking about taking it off the town side of the budget
Yes.
on the 54, or would that, or am I wrong, or should that be on the next?
No, it's coming off the Board of Ed side.
Okay, so it comes off the 54.
Well, I think, are you talking about this, because you mentioned the 750, so it's the transfer to the IT.
That got
that's with-
rejected.
Right.
So this is a transfer for the overall budget for the Board of Education.
Well, no, this is for the town of this isn't the board's, that's the next one, actually, is the,
There's no amendment for the board because there was no change in that budget. So you'd have to add an amendment to change the Board of Ed budget.
To 22. That was my point. It sounded like we should have taken it out of 22 and not 21. If
22 is the entire budget.
you'd have to have another, what Lynn is saying is you have to have another amendment to amend
Okay.
the
Okay.
the board's allocation within the town manager budget.
I withdraw my amendment.
Withdrawn?
Withdrawn.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion on Amendment 21? Sensing none, by a show of hands, all those in favor of Amendment 21? Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed?
Oh, yeah, I'm opposed.
Okay, the amendment passes 6-5. Read Amendment 22?
Keeping some notes, sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
Amendment 22 to amend the manager's proposed 2013 to 2014 budget by increasing the entire budget appropriation as shown on page 31 from $116,416,897 to $118,449,477.
Motioned, second, is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
You're in line.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sitting here thinking about other things. Yeah, second.
Okay, motioned and seconded. Discussion. Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'd like to make a motion to amend and reduce the total number of $118 million by $600,000, which would be under the school security line item. And I would put it towards the actual guards themselves with what's going on at the state of Connecticut and the problems I think we're going to face trying to implement this program. And the drastic increase to the mill rate in this budget, I think the taxpayers could use that $600,000 right now. When the state figures out what we can do in our schools and allows us to do it, at that point, I think we can readdress it.
Okay, there is a motion to amend.
Second.
And seconded, and that, just so we got it clear, we're reducing the 118,449,477 by $600,000 to a total of 117,849,477.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion on the amendment to the amendment. Councilman Edgar.
Yes, to clarify, that $600,000 is to take out the armed guards in the school.
Only the armed guards
Only the
and
armed
leave the
guards.
hardening money in place.
Question I have is, I thought that was 650 in the budget.
Well, can I talk back and forth? Or?
If he's yielding to you to answer a question, yes.
I wanted to leave, another $50,000 for the hardening. $250,000 is not a lot of money of what we need, so.
Sorry, I didn't understand that. I was just
I
looking
could-
for clarity.
That number has been reduced by the 33 as well, so it's,
610.
right.
610.
And if I
610.
could just,
So I'm saying 600.
Okay.
Okay, Red, are you all set?
Yeah, well, the 33 is still out of it.
No, it's been withdrawn earlier in an amendment
Okay,
here.
all right.
Okay, further discussion on the amendment to the amendment. Councilman Bosco.
Just to let everyone know, this is to get rid of the school guards.
This is
This is a vote amongst us. Either we want to keep the school guards or we want them gone like the public asked us. I just want to make sure that that's where we were, because I got a little screwed up here earlier.
Okay. Councilman Hall?
A quick question. So Ken, you're not proposing leaving that in for hardening or putting it in a CIP line item?
I'm open for suggestions, but I just, with the guard situation we've discussed, I just think we're reaching right now. So if you wanted to, do a friendly amendment and put more money towards the hardening, I would absolutely entertain that.
I definitely would like to see it kept in for school security, so I guess I would be agreeable to move it to a line item in CIP for the hardening of the schools.
Well, what we have to do is we have to vote on this amendment, unless Ken's going to accept a friendly amendment. But to actually, I think we would have to we'd have to really iron this out to understand where the money is going to and from.
Right.
Right, because this is to reduce.
And if I can, just for clarification on the remaining money, Lynn just whispered in my ear, the actual number that's left in that cost center is $577,387. So that is the number that you would be amending.
577,383 versus.
387.
387,
Yes.
sorry. Versus the 600,000. So my question to the maker is, do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so versus the 6, it's 577,387. And it's still, your amendment is still just a total reduction from the budget.
Because there is no actual line item in here for school security that I can do this on.
It would have to be a separate amendment to add it back into a.
At the end.
To a capital line
Well,
item.
it would need to be done within this amendment.
Okay,
And that's just to be clear also with, if there was any desire to reduce the school budget, it would have to be done within this amendment as well.
Okay, well, we'll start with the First Amendment I'm working on. So if yeah.
Yeah, I would offer a friendly amendment to put that 577,387 in the hardening of the school's safety.
okay, so you're accepting a friendly amendment that your motion now is to change the 577,387 from the school security officer section of the budget and place it into the capital line item for school security. Does that suffice for understanding?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's accepted by Ken and Joey as the second. Okay.
Red Edgar also has his hand.
Are you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay. Councilman Edgar.
Just clear me up, I'm getting a little foggy here. But this does do away with school guards.
Yes.
Councilman Kinsler.
And I think that it makes sense because, just so you know, we're forecasting spending a lot more than that on the hardening through the next couple of fiscal years. So that money will go to the use that we would have had to go to anyway. And with what's happening down in Hartford, I agree with the amendment.
Any further discussion? My thoughts on the amendment is I do not support it. I want to see the monies remain until when and if the legislation passes and our school security, Joint Committee on School Security has the chance to review and make a determination as to what the next steps would be if we're not able to carry out the school security officer. So I will not be supporting the amendment. Any further discussion? Then by a show of hands, those in favor of Amendment 22 as amended, and that's moving the money to CIP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed? 6 in opposition. The amendment fails. Any further discussion on Amendment 22?
Yes, I'd like to also propose another amendment to reduce the entire amount of money to the Board of Education by $200,000, which I believe was the number Councilman Hall was asking, to keep it at 550 increase. And
For all-day kindergarten.
that money, we would ask that they would put it towards the all-day kindergarten, which they voted to keep last night.
Second.
Okay, amendment to reduce the 118,449,477 by $200,000, and that's a $200,000 less contribution to the general fund contribution to the Board of Ed. Okay. Discussion.
No, because they still got $1.2 million from Matt. It reduces his $1.2 million to $1 million. So their total increase would be,
Yep. I think it's allowable.
Right.
Yeah. Councilman Kinsler.
Yeah, I mean, we talked long and hard over the last several weeks about this, and I feel real comfortable that with 550 on top of the 1.2 in the manager's budget, that 1.75 million, if that's the number, above the spending of last year will afford them the opportunity to pay for their contractual obligations, the all-day kindergarten, and some other things they need to do. And I think I understand from the Board of Ed from last night that they had a discussion where they put a consensus that they could get that done as long as they had the money to do it. And I think this gives them that money to do that. So I'll be in support of it.
Councilman Edgar?
Yeah, my question is, was the Board of Ed, when they acted last night, planning on the 750 or the 550? Now,
I don't know.
when we deliberated before, and that's in here, we said 750. And we understood they could do it there. Now, last night, did they make their move on 750 or 550? I'm not sure if they can do it for 550. There's nothing wrong with the amendment, but just as a question, I haven't heard anything from the Board of Ed on the reduction. I would be interested if they could do it before I vote. The chairman of Board of Ed is here, but I don't know if he can speak.
Oh, we're not allowed to engage. That's not part of our rules. Councilman Arnone?
Yeah, same question, read, but from what I understand from what I've read and seen, that even the layoffs or reductions were on that 750. So I'm not sure they can do it without the 750 either. And like I said, this was a long discussion on trying to get full-day kindergarten in, and we agreed to this amount, and I would hope that we could support it today.
Any further discussions? Councilman Hall?
Well, in the budget public hearing, Dr. Schuman said that that was the cost of the program, was the 550. And so it's nice that the Board of Ed made the commitment to leave that in their budget, knowing that we haven't voted on a budget yet. So I'm sure they can do it for what Dr. Schuman represented in the public budget hearing.
Deputy Mayor Nelson?
I just want to clarify, the number is not 750,000. The number to the Board of Ed is 1,950,000. So just to be clear, so the public understands, we're not talking about 750,000. And I'm asking to reduce that 1,950,000 by $200,000. That's all. Thank you.
Did you have your hand up, Joey?
No.
No. Councilman Mangini?
Thank you. I will not support a reduction to the reduction to education. Councilman Arnone is correct. During deliberations, we talked about all of these items, all of these issues, education being a very important matter of concern. And it was my belief, my understanding that many of us did come to terms with the fact that we do want the full-day kindergarten. We do want to bring education forward. The only way we can do that is through $750,000 above what's currently in there. I know I put it forward the concept of $1.5 million, which did not pass in our deliberations. So I certainly support keeping $750,000, which, from my understanding, really isn't going to do the full job, but it's going to help them, and that's where I am. Thank you.
Councilman Edgar?
Yes, and to answer the deputy mayor, I fully realize that's the entire budget. It's not the question. My question is that I'm not sure what context the board took it in, but let me answer you on Dr. Sherman, and you were sitting closer to him than I was, but he said 550 was the cost of that, but he also said he had some mandates. Now, when we deliberated, I understood that to give the mandates and the board all-day kindergartens, that it was 750. That's what I'm trying to clarify, how they were looking at this last night. I mean, I'm open-minded on this, but I'm not clear on what they voted on. If they were figuring on 750, that's what they said, yes, they could do it with. But if they were figuring on 550, Did they mean he could do it with that? I don't know what they did. I didn't go to their meeting.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Councilman Edgar, I also was not at the meeting, but after speaking with one of the board members who was there, the vote was basically to commit to all-day kindergarten regardless of what the town did. And that was them making sure all-day kindergarten would not get cut regardless of what we did. You can't buy a new car until you know the money's there. So I was not there to see it myself. I am just saying what I was told by one of the board members who says they voted and they can do it with this $200,000 reduction. But I wasn't there to see it firsthand, so, but it came from a board member. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I will not be supporting the amendment. During council deliberations, the consensus of the council was the $750,000, and I'm sticking to that position that we reached during our deliberations. Any further discussion? Sensing none, by a show of hands, all those in favor of the amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Amendment fails 4-7. Any further discussion on Amendment 22? Sensing none, by a show of hands, all those in favor of Amendment 22? Those opposed? Amendment carries 6-5. Councilman Bosco?
Amendment 23, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget as shown on pages 26, 27 in accordance with the following schedule. General fund revenue, building permits from $400,000 to $420,000. Firearm permits from $9,000 to $14,000. Telephone personal property from $0 to $80,000. Vital statistics from $35,000 to $40,000. Recycling revenue from $52,000 to $94,000. Alarm fines from $40,000 to $20,000. Rental town-owned property, $291,808 to $311,000. Miscellaneous revenue from $70,000 to $81,455. In-kind contributions from WPC from $0 to $238,622. From tax revenue, $78,684,409 to $80,315,720.
Second.
Amendment's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 24, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 budget by increasing the revenue appropriations as shown on page 26 through 27 from $116,416,897 to $118,449,477.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 25, to amend the manager's proposed 2013-14 budget as shown on pages 131 to 139 in accordance with the following summary of changes. Under revenue, taxes from $2,637,095 to $1,331,048. User fees from $0 to $1,563,535. Under expenditures, salaries from $754,441 to $755,187. Maintenance and building supplies from $146,100 to $145,354. Transfers out from the general fund from $0 to $238,622 transfers out IT fund from $0 to $18,866.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on Amendment 25?
Go ahead,
Count-
Ken, you go first.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I just want for clarification, through the chair to the town manager. On the taxes, we're going from $2,637,095 to $1,331,048. Can you tell me where that $1.3 million, Matt, is that we're taking from the sewer fund? Where did that money end up? The money was used in the budget.
Right, I'm just
The money
trying to
was
think.
spent. And so I know my intention was to help reduce the tax burden, not spend the money. And that seems to have what happened, but I just want to clarify for the record. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Sensing none, by show of hands, all those in favor of Amendment 25? Those opposed? Amendment carries 7 to 4. Councilman Kensler?
No, I'm.
No, Amendment
sorry.
26.
We're still on the amendment. This is going to be a long one. So I'm going to need a break in between. Amendment 26, says to amend the manager's proposed 2013-14 budget as shown on pages 143 to 149 in accordance with the following summary of changes. Administrative revenue transfers in from $217,672 to $218,328. Expenditures, salaries from $133,640 to $134,296. Enfield Transportation Service, revenue, bus fees from $0 to $29,000. Transfers in $134,246 to $128,214. Expenditures, salaries from $397,469 to $426,37. Time for a break. Amendment 26 continued. Adult daycare revenue transfers in from $0 to $107,141. Expenditures, salaries from $192,935 to $260,016. Health insurance, $49,748 to $84,676. Social Security, $13,180 to $17,339. Medicare, $3,083 to $4,056. Child Development Center revenue transfers in $308,913 to $197,027. Expenditures, salaries, $1,154,211 to $1,156,285. Rental, land, and buildings from $136,754 to $22,794. Senior Center revenue transfers in $275,646 to $277,047. Expenditures, salaries, $161,204 to $162,605. Youth Services revenue transfers in $431,578 to $432,065. Expenditure, salaries, $161,077 to $161,564. Neighborhood Services revenue transfers in $100,735 to $101,390. Expenditure, salaries, $79,995 to $80,650.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any discussion on Amendment 26? By a show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Amendment number 27, to amend the town manager's proposed 2013-2014 recreation budget as shown on pages 196 to 206 in accordance with the following schedule. Recreation Administration revenue transfer in from $297,642 to $298,297. Expenditures, salaries from $168,662 to $169,317.
Second, Discussion on Amendment 27. Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Amendment 28, motion to amend the manager's proposed 2013-2014 Information Technology Fund budget as shown on pages 188 to 193 in accordance with the following schedule. Information technology revenue transfers in town, $1,721,494 to $2,452,628. Transfers in Board of Education from $2,042,870 to $1,113,713. Transfers in WPC from 0 to $18,866. Expenditures, technological services from $1,049,842 to $1,037,645. Telephone from $501,000 to $389,040. And technological equipment from $1,090,373 to $1,035,373.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Under the transfer in Board of Education, it's from $2,042,870 to $1,113,713. If I'm correct, we increased that line item $750,000 for the Board of Education's, the town contribution, so their MBR would not go up. Doing quick math, that's a lot more than $750,000 increase to them. It's more, almost over, somewhere around $1 million increase that the town is paying for the board side.
Just for some clarification on the expenditure side, where we're reducing, those were reductions requested by the board that was included in the numbers. If you remember what they were originally asking for, they're included in the math to get there was about $166,000 of reduction in spending.
So they reduced their own IT budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
the things that only impact the schools.
Absolutely, that answers that. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Any further discussion? Sensing none by show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Carries 6-5. That's yours, Ken.
I'd like to make a motion to amend number 29 of the manager's proposed 2013-14 CIP budget as shown on pages 217 to 218 in accordance with the following schedule. Capital improvement funds. Revenue transfers in from $1,769,521 to $3,092,521.
And the expenditures.
Expenditures, you want me to read it all out? I
Yes.
thought you, okay. Expenditures, mowers, 4, from 0 to $60,800. Dump body, 1, from 0 to $30,000. Side loading refuge truck, 1, from 0 to $295,000. Dump with plow, 3, 0 to $588,000. Front end loader, 1, 0 to $250,000. Retrofit recycling truck, 1, from 0 to $82,200. Brainerd Park improvements, 0 to $17,000.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none by a show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor, 4 against. That completes the amendments. Are there any other amendments? Resolved that the town council, actually, I go back to the original motion on page 1 as amended. Any discussion on the original motion as amended? Correct. Correct.
This
It's
is where
a
we-
motion for the entire
This will be
budget.
reasons for or against our,
Correct. Correct. Councilman Kinsler.
Okay, where do we find ourselves? We find ourselves sitting in this room trying to figure out how much money to spend and what we need. But where do we find ourselves in terms of where we are? The state has cut us back by a couple $1 million. They'll probably do so in the future. Our state taxes are up in many different ways for our residents. Our federal taxes have gone up. Our town taxes are going up today. Our sewer fee is going to be enacted in January. We have a new high school we're going to be paying for in a couple of years. We'll need to do a referendum for, in my estimation, around $30 million for roofs and other infrastructure and hardening that we'll need to do. We have roads 2015 that we're going to have to face to fund our roads. Fire taxes are going up in some districts, others they're not. So in the next couple of years, we face $4 to $5 million a year that we're looking at adding to the budget just by what we're going to have to do. That's if nothing else goes wrong. What is this going to do to our residents on fixed incomes or our businesses who are barely getting by? When will the revenue system, us, collapse on itself? Right now, between here and the border of our state in Long Meadow, roughly a mile, there's 32 empty commercial and retail businesses with no one in them producing anything. And that's just one street. How many of us have the extra $500 or $1,000 or higher to pay these fees, taxes, state, federal, things we're facing? How many businesses can continue to absorb the huge increases that they will have? People talk in terms of wants and needs when it comes to programs and spending. Well, the one need we must always consider the most is the need to be able to stay in our homes and continue to run our businesses, because that's what pays for all of the other needs. I knocked on over 1,100 doors and talked to hundreds of people when I ran for my seat, and I continue to talk to people every day, get their opinions, listen to them. I must do my best to provide what I can without harming the people I represent. So I have to try to do what we can to supply them with their needs without harming them. Why is it okay for the state to cut us, but we spend more? $5.4 million more. I agree with some of the needed increases in not kicking the can down the road. We do have to do some things. But this is far too much. If we were a business, we would lose that business. Because we are a town, we can just go back to the well. Well, the well has run dry. I will be a no on this budget.
Thank you, Tom. Councilman Bosco.
All I can do for the taxpayers of this town is apologize. I really feel horrible because people just can't make it anymore. When are we gonna separate the wants, the needs, and what we have to do to get by? I am a full agreeance with all-day kindergarten. If we waited till the school was done, the high school, at that point there, we're gonna have teachers that they're no longer gonna need. We're gonna have funds that we no longer can take from the Board of Ed. We would be moving these kids around once, and it wouldn't have cost the taxpayers any additional monies. Because of MBR, we cannot take any money away. So when we closed the schools last year, miraculously, all that money disappeared. When we close Fermi, all that money's going to disappear. We think we are doing the best for our kids by pushing this all-day kindergarten. But I can tell you, I had kids in all-day kindergarten, I had kids that weren't in all-day kindergarten, and really it's the maturity level of the kid where it's going to do them benefit. If a kid's not mature enough to go into all-day kindergarten, that kid is going to fall behind. There's going to be other kids that are mature enough and are going to do fine, and that kid's going to move forward. The problem I see is, what good is having all-day kindergarten and all this money for our schools and all this extra curriculum when you can't feed your kid or you can't put a roof over their house? And I can tell you one other thing. I love my family. I don't want my family to move away. But it's down, if we keep going with the taxes around here, and it's not just Enfield, it's the whole state of Connecticut that has this big head that we need more and more and more, and take care of more services and take care of more things and have people do less. My kids are not going to have a choice but to move and not live in Enfield. So when we all get older and our kids have to move away because they cannot afford to live here, we can thank all the people of this council, the councils previous and the councils that are past. Because when we make it too tough for people to live, they're going to leave. And I'm going to tell you, I own a business in this town. I know how tough it is to make ends meet. There's things that I would like, but I can't have. I have to adjust my budget, and it always goes down because of the way the economy is. Now, we're going to take and raise the taxes on all these people, all these businesses, which are going to make us that much less competitive. We're going to be that much less of a draw to get new people in. When your kids do graduate, there's not even going to be a place for them to work because there's going to be nowhere around that are going to be left. The only one that's going to be left are the big chains because all the mom and pops are getting eaten up slowly. It's like everyone's just getting devoured a little at a time because what happens is it gets to a point where the amount of hours you work, the amount of money and profit you make, get to the point where it is not worth staying here anymore. And then they start leaving. And then where are we? You know, you take, and people say, you know, it's only going to be a $300 increase. Well, the only $300 increase is not an increase like that to Mass Mutual or the Square that has all these empty stores. Or better yet, what's going to happen to Lego when they get whacked with our tax and then they get hit with the Hazardville Fire Department tax of, I believe it's 80% or 86%. Well, I mentioned something, deliberation. What about the fire departments? People, they got to pay their fire tax, and I was told, don't worry, it's not our problem. Well, you know what? It is our problem because people can only afford so much. And the state doesn't care about us, our town people don't care about us, and so the fire department don't care about us. But when people are scraping their pockets, looking for the change, they can thank the council, they can thank the state, and they can thank everybody. And you know what? There's one other thing I got to say. Be careful for what you wish for. It just may come true. And people, you got it. And when you get your tax bill, you're going to get it. And then when you get your next tax bill, and I shouldn't say tax bill, you get your next water pollution control bill, which is a very good thing, you're going to get another surprise. And if we did not remove some of that money to allow the extra that you're going to get charged, we just taxed you on that. We spent every penny plus. And again, all I can say is I'm sorry. I tried my best. There were other people on this council that tried hard and fought hard, and nobody wanted to listen. And I'm sorry, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Joey. Next is Councilman Mangini.
Thank you. This budget is not about me. It's about the people of Enfield. But I do want to thank our town staff, my colleagues on the council, and the people of Enfield for going through the process as our charter calls for. I am going to definitely support this budget. There are some parts of the budget that I am philosophically opposed to that I'm not going to go into detail, but there are parts of this budget that have value. The value in education, full day kindergarten, preschool, high school. We have to start paying more attention to educating our children. We have to start focusing more on our values, our elderly, making sure that we have the daycare facilities that are appropriately prepared to care for our seniors, to make sure that our average families are able to afford and support themselves. Unfortunately, the job market isn't that great. But for 5 years, we've held the line on taxes. No tax increase for 5 years. Well, you know what? you got to have road repairs. The sewer situation, and now that we're going to go to the value, or I'm sorry, the usage versus the value, is actually going to be a benefit for the people of Enfield. There's going to be a savings for the people of Enfield. Our town is going to be able to get grant funding to be able to get assistance with the cost. There were things that we looked at in this budget that had to be addressed. Our public works vehicles, I don't want to see any of our people out there in vehicles that are in disrepair, that have to be taken off the road. Don't want to see an accident happen with either an employee or an innocent bystander. These are things that have to be addressed. We can't get around it anymore. We've held the line for so long. Now it's time that we look at the issues and we put our values where they belong, and the values have to be for the people of Enfield. This council, I believe, has taken measures, along with our town staff, to do what is right for the people of Enfield. Like I said, I didn't agree with some of the suggested changes and amendments, et cetera, but all in all, it's a good, solid budget, and we have to go forward to make Enfield an even better place to live and to bring up our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Councilman Stokes?
Thank you, Scott. I just wanted to say that, first of all, as Cindy has said, I want to thank the town staff, town manager, finance chair, or department chair, director, for the hard work they've done. They have a difficult time because they have to work with us, and I got to think we all, no matter where we are in the budget, appreciate their quiet tone at times when we're not so quiet, and so I appreciate that. I want to thank my colleagues on the council, and especially Mayor Copen, because his role is to facilitate and to moderate the meetings and to treat everybody fairly, agree or disagree, and he's done a great job doing that, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the taxpayers and the citizens of Enfield, and this is my 10th budget as either a Board of Ed member or a council member, and so I've been familiar with these budgets over the years. This budget here does a number of things. My first perspective is that over the last 5 years, we've had a zero tax increase, and I think, in my estimation, that possibly the last couple of years we should have balanced that out a little bit, because sooner or later it catches up because things become in a place to where you have to start spending money. In this budget, it addresses what the public has desired in full-day kindergarten, and that was a strong opinion. Knowing that the educational system, as I do, because I spent 8 years as a Board of Ed member, I know that the times have changed. Kindergarten, what it is today, is not what it was when I was in kindergarten back in 1962. And so it's changed quite a bit. And I have 2 children in the Enfield District, and I have 2 grandchildren in the district, and 2 more grandchildren coming in the next couple of years. And I want to see them get a head start on their education, and so that was important to me. DPW, I'm not someone who knows anything about vehicles in construction or trucks or mechanics. I trust those that do, and when the DPW committee members were recommending what we needed and things that need to be replaced over the next few years, we needed to make an investment, and I think we've begun a good road there. We've cared not only for the children with the education budget with fall-day kindergarten, but with the adult daycare money to be able to care for those elderly in our greatest need. Those are dealing with dementia and things like that, and we need to care for the young and the old. And then our water pollution control plant, when I came on the council a year ago, we walked through there and got a report. I realized at that time, and I remember mentioning to a number of people that although it wasn't a glamorous thing to talk about, you will notice it when it does not work. And that's when you'll notice it. And so we have to be stewards over that. There's about $30 million worth of improvements need to be made. And in my mind, the fee service, taxes, whatever you want to call it, that wasn't, in my mind, to save exact money, to try to lower a budget. It was because the fact is you got to spend the money to take care of these places. And I think we're behind the curve on it, and this will help us get ahead of the curve there. We've had different opinions here on many things. The one item that I worked closely on the last 4 months as school security, and fully aware of the legislation coming down from Hartford. And as I mentioned to a number of people, I'm going to assume it's going to pass, and that we will not be able to provide the armed security that we had planned. I'm of the nature that you go with what you have going until it comes to a time where you have to change gears, and then you come up with your secondary plan and make it the best you can. And so willing to face the fact if the armed securities cannot go through, that we will readjust, elevate and escalate our hardening, work with our public safety departments and our chief of police to be able to find out if we have to do a hybrid situation. But no matter what, we got to protect these children in our schools. And if that money needs to be at a later date transferred over to hardening, well, we have the resources and we can accelerate that. The bottom line is, everybody says it won't happen here, it won't happen here. I hope it never does, but to me, those kind of situations, not if they will happen again, it's when and where. And I can only be a steward over this community, and chose to do what I can. I know some have disagreed with me. I know on social media there's been a lot of folks talking. I don't think anybody has ever questioned our motives or our intent. They question our wisdom at times, and that's fine. That's what the public does. But here's the key thing. Whatever takes place, we will do our best to protect the children. So I will be supporting this budget. I think it does things for our community that need to be done. And although not everybody's happy, not everybody will support it. There will be talk on different sides at the country diner this week and where everybody's at. But the bottom line is, I think everybody up here, no matter where we are, care about this community and speak our convictions. So I thank you for that, and I will be supporting the budget.
Thank you, Greg. Next is Deputy Mayor Nelson.
First, I'd like to ask everybody to really take a look at the taxes that are coming our way. I mean, the Hazardville Fire Department has proposed an 80+% increase in their budget. For those of us who live in District 3, Scott, your district, we are about to get whacked with a huge tax increase, not only from the town, but the fire department. The vote's May 20th. What's great about their vote is the people have a right to vote on that. And that is why I have always supported opening the charter and allowing the residents of Enfield to vote on a budget. The town of Windsor is proof positive. They voted no. They voted no because the people cannot afford it. Joey's absolutely right. Your sewer bills are coming January 1st. They're in the mail. We sit here, and you heard me throw up all these different amendments. A simple $200,000. We asked for a reduction out of $118 million. We can't even get them to reduce $200,000. People say 5 years, no tax increase. I wasn't aware we had to raise taxes. Yeah, I didn't know that was policy. Well, maybe that's what's wrong with the politicians nowadays, is they think they have to raise taxes, and that's the answer. Well, anybody can sit up here and raise taxes for all the people sitting out there. I mean, that's an easy way to run government. What's hard is making those tough cuts. Did I want to put and reject the proposal for the Department of Public Works? Absolutely not. Those people need that equipment desperately. I mean, we had to take equipment off the road this year because they were using stop signs for floorboards. You know, that's what our guys were dealing with. So that's why that money was there. But to try to help the people of Enfield and come up with some sort of a compromise, I agreed. Councilman Hall, the school security, she sat there with Councilman Stokes day after day, week after week for those guards, and she 100% supported it. But she put all that money forward to try to make some sort of a compromise with everybody who's sitting here. And what did we get? Not 1 cent. Nothing. The Board of Education, $550,000 is what it would take to put all-day kindergarten in. Came from Schumann. Came from our side of the Board of Education. We're supposed to be working with them. Nope, didn't even listen to them. I just ask my fellow councilmen to reconsider what you're about to do to the people of Enfield, because they can't afford this right now. I don't know what else to say, just except join me in Hazardville and let's vote on their budget. I am a no on this budget.
Thank you, Ken. Next is Councilman Arnone.
Yeah, I'm a yes on this, and for a lot of the reasons, Greg so eloquently put it out right now. It's a little for the schools. Public Works, desperate need of this money, desperate need. Public Works needs these vehicles. We've held back, we've held back, we've held back. Now is the time we have to pay, because the more we don't address our problems, the longer this is going to take, and the more money it's going to take. Water pollution control, 30 some odd $1 million worth of repairs there, because we have not addressed them here and now. We're addressing them here and now for the future. We can't even apply for state grants the way we collect the money from the Water Pollution Control Department, because they want to see where the money goes, and the only way they can see where the money goes to give us grants is to have it in its own bank account, so to speak. So this is something that is good management, and this is something we haven't heard tonight, which we have a lot of businessmen sitting on this counter, and we should really be looking at how the town is run as a business. No one would run a business like we run a town, because we'll run it into the ground and it'll go bankrupt. We don't want this town to go bankrupt. We don't want this town to be mismanaged. It has to be managed correctly. And this is a budget that just addresses the problem. There's no fluff in this budget whatsoever. The school committee, school guards, yep, hot topic. But I'm going to tell you something. We voted people in here in a committee to take this on. We owe it to that committee to decide what to do next. I'm not going to make that micromanage our committees. Our committees are out there to do a job. Their job at the time was to pull guards in. We took their advice. It may change. It's up to the committee to change that, not up to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any further comment? Councilman Crowley.
Yeah. First off, I just want to say thank you, obviously, to the staff. It's been a tough budget process, but I appreciate the hard work that you guys went through. My fellow councilmen, mayor, deputy mayor, you guys have been very cordial to both sides of the aisle, letting us have our say in the process. Obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that we agree and disagree on a number of issues. And these are issues that we've been disagreeing on for the last 10 years, maybe. It seems that way. But I'll tell you what, the one thing I always appreciated about the council is when the votes are taken and when it's all done, the respect for each other is still there. Whether you get what you want or you don't get what you want or what you stand for, the one thing I do like is the dignity that's held up here at the council and the respect that we do carry for each other. None of us get paid to do this. It's all volunteer, and we all really care a lot about this town. And we all have different ideas of what direction we want this town to go in. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Whether or not you vote for or against the budget or for or against the amendments, that's your right, and that's why you're put up here to do this. And it's good that we all don't agree on everything. And that's what makes diversity part of this town. So thank you for everyone for what you've done, and I do appreciate it, and I hope we continue on the same positive direction that we always have before and after budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Next, Councilman Hall.
I first want to say thank you to the staff for all the hard work they put in this budget. I know it's a horrible time for you, and it's endless hours and countless number crunching, and I thank you all for the work. It's really, truly appreciated, I know, by me. This is actually going to be the first budget I voted no on in 10 years sitting on this council. And it actually is really disheartening to me, because I've done a lot of soul searching on this budget, and I think there was a lot of good suggestions where our mill rate could have been cut. It didn't happen. We're going to hand another bill to the people of this town in January. All need it. There's no dispute. I don't think anybody sitting on this council would disagree with the need to improve our water pollution control plant. No argument. The argument comes when we have to increase the mill rate and nobody's willing to give up anything to do it. It breaks my heart to vote no Nobody that put up any of these amendments suggested all-day kindergarten being taken off the table for 1 minute. I don't think there was anybody. I know Joey had some ideas about delaying the program, but everybody up here supported all-day kindergarten, and all the suggestions to amend that part of the budget would leave that program whole. I disagree with a lot of the decisions that were made in this budget, and I will respectfully vote no, and I don't know what else to say. I wish I didn't have to do it. I just felt like there really wasn't a lot of give in this budget, and everybody kind of dug their heels in and just didn't want to budge. And I don't think that's what we're here to do. I think I can speak for myself, I heard from more people that said, please don't go up on the mill rate too much. Everybody that I spoke with was okay with a small increase, and I heard from people I never usually hear from. So I know people are hurting when I get those phone calls. So I have to respect that. I don't agree with the huge increase and the bill coming in January. There could have been some changes to this budget to make it a little easier on the taxpayer. So I too encourage people to come out to the Hazardville meeting on Monday night. It's frightening that they're putting that on the table. And hopefully this meeting gets the word out for people to get to that meeting, because you are going to be hit with a huge double mill increase in that district if you don't get there Monday night. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Carol. Councilman Crowley?
There was one thing I did leave out, and it was very unintentional, was the first thing I wanted to say, and I wanted to thank our families for putting up with us. This is a very tough time of the year for anyone that's on the council, I believe, or even a Board of Ed, or any board that goes through this process, whether it's staff's families or our families up here. You put up with a lot, and I hope you understand that we're doing this because we do enjoy and like living in this town and appreciate it, and we're trying to make it better. But thank you to our families, please.
Any further comment? Deputy Mayor Nelson?
I also forgot one thing. I just wanted to thank the Thompsonville Fire Department, because after the years of people screaming, they get it. They went through with a full-time department, building a brand-new station, and they didn't raise the taxes 1 cent this year. Congratulations to them, and I hope Commissioner Alimo gets back on his feet soon. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I've got a couple comments. I'm in support of the budget. The total town budget increases 3.6%. The town side of the budget increases 5.8%, and the Board of Education side of the budget increases 1.8%. Now, yes, $750,000 of the town side increase through the IT fund supports education, but the total town budget increase is 3.6%. What I heard from the public, restore full funding for the Adult Day Center. They came out to a council meeting, spoke very eloquently, very passionately. I think everyone up here wanted to see funding restored to the Adult Day Center in exchange for a thorough review of the service, the revenue, and the expenses. We need the year to take that hard, long look at the long-term viability of the service. Until this year, this service was the only social services department that was completely self-funding through client fees and grants. This one-year lifeline is the least we can do. Then we heard people asking for all-day kindergarten. So we decreased the funding commitment for the Board of Education towards information technology services by $750,000, creating that much operational capacity within the allotted Board of Education budget. All-day K has been, in my opinion, the most dominating issue this budget season. Everyone, well, probably almost everyone sitting up here says they support all-day K. The additional funding to the Board of Education accomplishes this. The funding decreases their IT payment and does not increase the future MBR. We all know as a council that we had to make a tough decision on water pollution control, switching to a user fee-based funding system on January 1st. And I believe during deliberations, everyone agreed to it, and everyone agreed to the funding mechanism. It will allow for necessary improvements to the sewer collection and processing system. The user fee system is a requirement for the state of Connecticut to share in costs of sewer system improvements, including the capital improvement costs of the town of Enfield, and will charge users based upon usage rather than the value of their house, their property, or their vehicle. Changes to WPC to a user fee-based funding system. The town took the lead years ago and compliments to Councilman Lee to keep us on track. We needed to move to this system. We have over $30 million in infrastructure work that needs to be done to meet state regulations. State funding becomes available only if we are on a user fee-based funding system. This needs to get done if we want to continue to flush our toilets, take showers, cook with water and dispose of it. Anything that goes out of your sinks and your toilets and your showers makes their way to WPC. And we all recognize that the system is old and needs to be updated, and the users need to pay for it. On school security, we're monitoring the proposed legislation and have had conversations with our legislative delegation and the governor. And the governor has promised to hear us out if the proposed legislation continues to move forward. In my opinion, the money needs to stay in the budget as is. If it is determined that we cannot move forward with the approved plan, we still need funding for any of the alternatives that council members have offered up during deliberations, whether it's SSOs or SROs, additional police officers, or hardening. On hardening alone, the projected cost is over $2 million, and we have $200,000 in the budget. The Public Works Committee identified an immediate need of $3 million plus for the replacement of trucks and equipment. The $1.3 million starts to close the gap. We, in my opinion, cannot continue to kick the can down the road in regards to replacement of essential equipment. Last year, at the request of the DPW committee, we addressed the most important safety concerns. This year, we need to begin the upgrades and replacements if we want to continue to pick up the trash, plow the roads, cut the grass, etc. Brainerd Park is a gem in the rough and is in rough shape. For peanuts and a good plan, we begin to spruce up the park. Other infrastructure needs are great. We need to start addressing them and stop, again, kicking the can down the road. We have tens to hundreds of millions of dollars of work on roofs and windows for our schools and other town buildings. We have tens of millions of dollars of work on our roads, our sidewalks, and our drainage systems. We need an adequate home for buildings and grounds. The list is long. We probably should be spending an additional $5 million just to start to get the work done. Deputy Mayor Nelson mentioned the charter. And I think we've had a discussion during this term. You know, if I decide to run for re-election and if I get re-elected and I'm sitting as one of the council members, I think it is time for us to look at our charter. It's always healthy to do a review of the charter. But again, beware what you ask for, as Councilman Bosco mentioned, because the intention of a group that may want charter change for a specific reason may not be the result of the charter change. But I do think it's time to review the charter. The part that I'm probably most disappointed about, and the reason why I'm supporting the budget, is that we have a long-held tradition of deliberating as a council, discussing, debating, and arriving at consensus during our deliberation meetings. And that's how we arrived at this budget. Now, consensus doesn't necessarily mean a majority, but consensus means that all 11 of us have had the chance to discuss the issue and make a decision and put it up on the board or take it off the board. The part I don't like, but people are free to do so, and I hope I worked with you well enough tonight so that your points got across, is I don't like amendments off the floor. Because to me, that's not keeping in spirit of the process that the council has followed for decades. And I told my caucus why I'm supporting this budget, is that I believe in the process that we have followed the last 6 years as mayor, and really the last 20 years that I've served on this council. Deliberate, discuss, debate, reach consensus, and agree to a budget and move forward. I respect the opinions of those that don't support the budget. You put your heart and soul into the effort, and I have no problem with your decision whatsoever. You're standing up for what you feel is right. And I thank my colleagues that do support the budget for what we have put together. It's not an easy budget. No budget's easy. We faced a lot of obstacles this year. Finally, I want to thank the town manager and his staff and all the folks that came out to our public hearings, to our community conversations, who sent me an email, who made a phone call. I appreciate the feedback. I hope I got back and responded to you all. And my intention was never to persuade you one way or another, but just to let you know how I felt. And I take the collective together, and that's how I make my decision. And that's why I'm supporting this budget. Any further discussion? Then may we have roll call on the main motion as amended.
Councilman Arnone,
For.
Councilman Bosco,
Against.
Councilman Crowley,
For.
Councilman Edgar,
Against.
Councilman Hall,
Against.
Mayor Copeland,
For.
Councilman Kinsler,
Against.
Councilman Lee,
For.
Councilman Mancini,
4.
Deputy Mayor Nelson,
Against.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
We have 6 in favor and 5 against, no abstentions.
Next item is to adopt a resolution of low SIP grant. Resolved that the town council of the town of Enfield does hereby appropriate low SIP grant funds in the amount of $343,000 for the following purpose in accordance with the 2013-14 annual operating and capital budget. Town road paving, $343,000. By Councilman Kinsler, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Discussion. Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Arnone,
For.
Councilman Bosco. 4. Councilman Crowley.
4.
Councilman Edgar,
4.
Councilman Hall,
4.
Mayor Copeland,
4.
Councilman Kinsler,
4.
Councilman Lee,
4.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Deputy Mayor Nelson,
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item, resolution adopting education block grant. Resolved that the town schools budget adopted by the town council in the amount of $64,262,157 included the anticipated revenue of $29,931,293 from the education block cost-sharing grant on page 26 of the 2013-2014 annual operating and capital budget.
So moved.
Second.
By Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Any discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Arnone,
For.
Councilman Bosco. 4. Councilman Crowley. 4. Councilman Edgar,
4.
Councilman Hall,
4.
Mayor Copeland,
4.
Councilman Kinsler,
4.
Councilman Lee,
4.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item on the agenda is resolution setting the tax rate. Resolved that a tax rate of 29.26 mils be set on the grand list of October 1st, 2012 for the town of Enfield and shall be payable in 2 semi-annual installments, July 1st, 2013 and January 1st, 2014. Be it further resolved, however, that real estates and personal property taxes amounting to $100 or less shall be paid in full on July 1st, 2013. And be it further resolved, however, that motor vehicle taxes shall be paid in full on July 1st, 2013. And be it further resolved that any motor vehicle, real estate, or personal property taxes in the amount of $5 or less shall be waived pursuant to Connecticut State Statute Section 12-144C.
So moved.
By Councilman Mangini, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Stokes. Discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Arnone,
4.
Councilman Bosco,
Against.
Councilman Crawley,
4.
Councilman Edgar,
Against.
Councilman Hall,
Against.
Mayor Copeland,
4.
Councilman Kinsler,
Against?
Councilman Lee,
4.
Councilman Mangini,
4.
Deputy Mayor Nelson,
Against.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
We have 6 in favor, 5 against, no abstentions.
That completes our action items. There is a need to go into executive session.
Motion.
So if we can have a motion to go into an executive
So
session,
moved.
and we'll go
Second.
downstairs to the Enfield room. So moved by Councilman Kensler, seconded by Councilman Mangini. All those in favor of going into executive session by show of hands? Those opposed, we are in executive session. Yes.